Hello and welcome to beautiful Schaffhausen. We're here at the IWC Museum with curator Dr. David Seyffer, and we're talking about one of the most innovative partnerships in watchmaking history between IWC and Porsche Design.
Yeah, hello and thank you that you are here in Schaffhausen at this lovely place. And I mean, we are talking about Porsche Design watches, you told it. And I'm always happy because, yeah, I could say this is one of my favorite collection. So, hey, let's get started.
Beautiful. So going back to the beginning, how did this partnership start?
I mean, we are talking about the 1970s. I think a lot of watch collectors know what happened. You know, they call the quartz crisis, which was not only the quartz movements which led into this in these situations, others, but you know, all companies were looking for new ways, and IWC was very happy that we got in contact with Ferdinand Alexander Porsche, and we started in 1978 the corporation, and it gave IWC, I would say, a completely new approach into the world of design and also the world of IWC watches. It was completely different than it was before, I would say, using new materials but also new designs and new watchmaking complication or tools, like you would say.
And so we look back at 1978 and the very first IWC Porsche Design branded watch was something kind of interesting and unusual. It incorporated a compass. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Exactly, so the first generation was made of aluminium, which was quite new in the world of watchmaking. So IWC didn't have that much experience, you know, to work with, but it was for us really the first step into the world of materials. And if you talk about IWC, you talk about materials today, and so it was really, really a huge step for us. And on the other hand, the design and, of course, the technical things. So if we open here, you know, then we can see the compass.
There you go, and it has the mirror for people hiking so they can signal, right? Emergency signal.
Absolutely, and also, you know, the bracelet was constructed so that you can measure, for example, distance in your map.
Oh, wow.
And from a watchmaking perspective, I mean, one thing which is not that good is if you have a magnetic field in your movement.
Of course.
And the compass, so what they really started also was to think about, you know, to use different alloys, materials inside the movement to make the compass running very well, because like you said, I mean, this is really a tool watch, you know, if you go hiking, and so yeah, you know exactly your position, and after all, you have a really, really nice watch. Don't forget that.
Yeah, and so the development of the compass watch partially led up to the Ocean series, correct?
Yes, I mean, this was all, you know, the beginning of the project, so you can really say that. It was really short after that. Also, the idea of IWC together with Ferdinand Alexander Porsche was born, you know, to have a really collection of these new design watches in a way he liked. And so it was obvious to bring the famous aqua timer, you know, into the world of Porsche design. And like you said, starting in the late 1970s and then launched 1982, the Ocean 2000 was born. And the name 2000, of course, we know, I mean, it was tested till 2000 meters or 200 amperes per, how is it called?
Water resistance? Yep.
Water resistance, yes, of course. And at the end of the day, Gunther Blümlein, he liked this 200 bar 2000, and he said, why we should call this watch not 2000? And then, okay, Ocean, oh, the name was born, Ocean 2000. And you know, the collection of IWC, this was something completely different. We have also the bezel, you know, outside, you know, if you like, you can really then set.
Yeah, there's no numerals on the bezel. It's a very pure, kind of authentic design that I think was entirely fresh to the market at the time.
Absolutely. And also titanium, which we will talk a little bit later. Titanium for the first time, which was also a perfect match for diver's watch, you know, with all that characteristics of this material.
And it had a connection with the Bundeswehr in Germany, correct?
Exactly. So this was interesting, or let's say you can name it a coincidence. At that time when we were launching this watch, or the project was starting, the German Navy was looking for watches for their combat divers, mine divers, so they really need a tool watch, a diver's watch, that has a lot of, let's say, robustness and met all these really harsh expectations. You can imagine what these guys are doing. So the features of the ocean were very perfect, but now comes the interesting thing. The specifications then of the military was not that high. So if you look, for example, you compare these two watches, you can see here this kind of shape.
Domed crystal. Yeah.
Domed crystal.
The military version has a flat crystal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it is only water resistance up to 300 meters.
Okay.
Due to the
requirements
and specifications. But of course, I mean, for collectors, these military watches were well searched after, because they were officially distributed then to the German Navy, and step by step, slowly they were decommissioned. And so you need really luck to get one of these watches. And still, as we know, some of these watches are still, in use. In '84, the first were delivered, and the latest generation mid-90s. So you can see also it was a really huge period. These watches were in service. And maybe interesting for collectors, not that many were made.
That's always interesting to collectors.
Exactly.
And so that leads us to perhaps the most emblematic watch from the collaboration, the Chronograph. And if I'm correct, this was the first wristwatch that had a full titanium case and bracelet, correct?
Exactly. This is very important to mention. So the whole idea was to use titanium. Ferdinand Alexander Porsche, he wanted always a black watch, a black chronograph, and it should be scratch resistant in a way how the best it is possible. We say it like that. And titanium in this period was maybe the best offer we can get. And when he was introduced to titanium, the idea, then they agreed really fastly to use this material for the bracelet and the case. Like I said, I'm repeating myself, from a look and feel, it was not only the first chronograph for IWC, we should not forget that. So it's the chronograph #1, as it was called, but also, like you said, completely made of titanium. So the challenge for us was really to set up a manufacturer for titanium, to get all the skills, because we were not used to do that.
Sure.
Nobody was used to do that. And this was really the big challenge for us. And at the end of the day, with the help of different, for example, aerospace industries and knowledge, at the end of the day, we were really happy to make this happen with watches. And also interesting for the collectors, we talked a little bit about it, and there were different versions of the bracelet. So the first generation, the second and the third generation, and every generation was kind of an update, because honestly we had also to learn how it's the best way to make a really nice titanium bracelet that really stands with this quality that we want to have with IWC watches.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you look at it. The design is totally singular. Like the pushers are completely integrated. It's totally fluid, and I mean, I can't imagine looking at the late 70s, early 80s when this was introduced, it must have felt entirely fresh. I mean, looking at it today, it still feels entirely fresh. It's just so cool to me. But yeah, so looking back at this period, it was about 20 years from the late 70s to the late 90s that IWC and Porsche Design worked together. What's the legacy of this collaboration today?
I would really say, like you mentioned, the design, and this really completely revolution in design that has happened in the late 1970s, 78. By the way, it was exactly 20 years. Call it a coincidence, how long this cooperation takes, and the legacy is really that we have typical 80s design, but it was so advanced and so kind of new that I think it really keeps his beauty and also appealing till today. And if you look at our history at IWC, I mean, this is how our legacy of chronograph started. This is what we should not underestimate. Like I said, chronograph #1. And if you look, for example, at today's IWC pilots, chronograph and everything what we have, I mean, we are considered now as a chronograph brand And it all started with this watch, with a 3700. And like that material, but also, you know, if you look, for example, at the military divers watches, you know, these are really watches, you know, with this dedicated story, you know, what it was made for. And after all, it's a cool looking watch, you know. So I would say really, really brilliant match for collectors. Maybe if you are in military watches or in divers watches and you didn't hear about IWC, I can't believe that this happened, but if you want to, then I think it's also really a watch interesting to start your collection.
Absolutely.
Of IWC watches.
Yeah, and I think you said it best. Cool looking watches, that's exactly what these are. Thank you for joining us here at the IWC Museum in Schaffhausen. And if you want to see a very special collection of IWC Porsche Design watches, make sure and check out the upcoming IWC Back to the 80s online auction at Philips Hong Kong starting September 17th.